and we should turn the other way. You have a very difficult position of voting on continuing to send arms or, fighting for Americans who don't believe we should be funding a genocide. What is it like working in an environment where you really have to push back? And I know you've been very vocal on behalf of all anti-genocide people. We're very grateful. But it can't be easy pushing back when people have so much power. I have very few allies, even at the Capitol, who refuse to even sign for a ceasefire. And it may be pressure from one side, but if we can't get our electeds to at least say it's a ceasefire, I'm curious about what it's like for you to fight on Washington.
I mean, we have this term, progressive but Palestine, that we use in the Progressive Caucus. It has always been an uphill battle to get people to care about the plight of Palestinians. It was always a dirty word to say, to speak about the Nakba. But we continue to introduce resolutions in recognizing it. It has always been, since 2019 is when the report on apartheid came out. You had Desmond Tutu and others who fought the apartheid in South Africa saying, this is worse than the apartheid we lived through. And I remember people getting really upset, severely upset that we spoke about it on the floor and entered it into the record, that report, when it came out. And many of us obviously understand that it is a challenge to talk about any issue that has a powerful opposition. So for me, it has meant my first primary in 2020 being the most expensive primary in the history of Congress. The pro Israeli groups spend nearly $20 million trying to unseat me. I remember my father saying, you're like a freshman member of Congress. How much power do they think you have? Why are they spending this much money and energy trying to defeat you? He lost before he knew I did defeat them, and I feel I hope he was able to somehow know that they did win. But yeah, and it's meant that it's just, we're gonna have those of us who speak up are gonna be challenged. We're gonna have a primary. They're gonna work effortlessly to try to make sure we are not opposing in Congress. But on the pride side, I think we have moved past censoring people who speak about the occupation, about the apartheid, about the Nakba, and in some cases, in the last 18 months or so, we've been able to increase the people who are calling for a ceasefire from like initial 19 to somewhere near 80 or 90. Now that is not enough, obviously, for us to pass something in a 435 member chamber, but it is significant to have 19 of us introduce it, and the White House call us despicable to getting 50 or 60 more saying this is not okay. I think for a lot of people, for a lot of members who have signed on, are saying, like, where would we have been in historic genocides, right? We are seeing what we are seeing, and even if you don't want to call it a genocide, you at least have to want to end it. You know, we have senators now outside of Bernie Sanders who are calling for arms embargo, and that is significant. Unfortunately, it's taking many lives for these changes to happen. But there is this low drumbeat of people who not only know about the Palestinian plight, but are actively willing to lose their future over it.